So what's going on, guys? I am BlackOpsAmazing. Welcome yourselves back to another Zombies Q&A on the channel, where today we take your questions from the comment section below to do with the zombie storyline or Easter eggs, and we answer them. As always, if you enjoyed today's video, you guys know what to do. Drop a like rating whenever you feel like it. Of course, you don't have to if you don't want to. But if we could reach 1k likes on this video, that'd be awesome. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest content. And of course, when you're ready, let's get into it. Here we go. So our very first question of today from Outside Guy 09 says, "Hey BOA, what are the creatures in Origins that attack you when you activate the power cells?" So if you don't know what this person's on about, around Origins there are 6 generators that you need to turn on, and when you do so, you can then activate the Pack-a-Punch. But when you turn these generators on, not too long after, some monsters, some things are going to start coming into the map and turning them off. Now in Origins we had 3 different new enemies that we hadn't seen before. These were the Crusader zombies, the Templar zombies, and the Panzer Soldates. The Crusader zombies are the ones that we see come out of the tunnels that lead the way to the portals. You can clearly tell by their clothing, what they are wearing, that these are soldiers that fought during the Great War. These people were alive and died in the 1300s. They were more than likely killed by the apothecans in the Great War and died on this site. And again, another new enemy that we have in Origins was the Templar zombies. Again, you can tell by their clothing that they come from the ancient times. You can see on their chest, on top of their medieval armor, there is the Order of the Keepers logo branded on them. Another strange thing about these is it appears that they have kind of like electricity coming from their eyes. But these guys, like you said in your comment, will spawn when you activate the 115 generators. They'll come out of blue teleporter holes from the ground, or also if you're actually in the crazy place you can see them as well, and they'll attack the generators until they are turned off or killed. And again, it seems like these were knights that were killed during the Great War. They've been dead for hundreds of years, and when Group 935 finally installed the 115 generators in Origins, as we know, strange things began to happen around the dig site. Ancient figures began emerging from the ground. There was a number of mysterious deaths happening around the dig site, and this was the fact that the ancient figures that had been dead for hundreds of years had risen from the dead. The Templar zombies and the Crusader zombies were knights that fought during the Great War. They'd been dead for hundreds of years, but like I said, because Group 935 started messing around with 115, it caused these guys to become undead and, well, rise from the ground and do all of these things that we see them do. So that is the explanation for these guys. An interesting question from Anthony Castillo says, "Who would win out of the 4 members in a battle?" So out of Takio, Richtoff, and Nikolai and Dempsey, if they were having a fight, who do I think would win? I don't know. I think, I mean, they've all got their different qualities. Straight away, I'd probably think Dempsey just because of how big he is, but then Nikolai because of how angry he is, and he's also quite a big guy. But then Richtofen because of how smart he is, and then Takio because of how nimble he is, and he'd probably get his katana out, and then, I mean, I hope it'll never come to that. I don't want the characters to fight each other. I hope they love each other. This is weird. This is weird. But who would win? Seriously, that's a pretty hard question to answer. Maybe in a bare-knuckle fight, I'd have to go between Dempsey or Nikolai. Then if they could use weapons, I don't know, I'd either go Dempsey or Richtofen. Dempsey because he's, well, self-proclaimed a very good shooter. And then Richtofen as well because he is, well, an expert at killing zombies. So let me know who you think would win in the comment section below. YOLO Killer says, oh dude, that's you need to change your name. BOA, in Black Ops 2 Zombies, why does Rustman not remember who he is? Well, Rustman for a very long time worked for Broken Arrow. Broken Arrow used Element 115 in their experiments, and as we know, one of the side effects to Element 115 is memory loss. Because Rustman was so exposed to it, because he'd been working with it and handling it for so long, eventually the 115 affected Rustman that much that he gained one of its side effects, which was memory loss. And that's why when we come to the game and transit, as you see in any of the intros, very often Misty, Martin, and Samuel will have to remind Rustman on what they are doing. And it actually got so bad that he didn't even at one point remember his name. And so the reason why is because he worked with 115. Yes, the other characters have been exposed to it, it's all around them, but Rustman just got exposed to it that whole lot more. He actually worked with it, he used it in Broken Arrow to create the denizens and the bios. He was actually touching meteor fragments of 115, and so very quickly he began to lose his memory. I'm sure if the others were exposed to it for as long as he had been, he'd get those same side effects as well. We can see in the Giants that those side effects effects have kind of rubbed off on the Primus characters, where they start to forget things. Richtofen will often have to remind himself of what his objective and his plan is, because as we know, he'd also been working with 115, he'd been exposed to it for a very long time as well, so he's kind of got a bit of memory loss as well. Cara Wooster says, how come in Mob of the Dead we see 4 electric chairs? Only 3 of our characters were killed by electricity. Only 3 of them were killed by electric chair, not 4 of them, so why on the Golden Gate Bridge do we see 4 chairs? Well, that is a good question and you are correct. We know in terms of the Mob of the Dead storyline, in real life, not in Purgatory, all 4 characters actually died. In real life they died, and that is the reason why they are in the afterlife in Mob of the Dead. We know that Al the Weasel was killed by the other 3 characters, Sal, Finn and Billy. He was murdered on the rooftop of the prison by them using prison weapons. They beat him on the head and he bled to death, and then for that the other 3 inmates were captured and then sent to death by electric chair. But as we see in Purgatory on the Golden Gate Bridge, there are 4 electric chairs for our 4 characters to sit in, even though 3 of them in real life only died by electric chair, not 4 of them. Why are there 4 electric chairs, not 3? Well, honestly, I'm not really sure. You can see hanging above each chair there is a dead body. Whether these were supposed to represent each one of our characters being dead, I'm not sure. You can see it says no one escapes alive, which is true. You will think that the characters killing themselves on these chairs would bring everything to an end, but as we know, it doesn't. It just resets the cycle and they replay these same events over and over again. You can see by this image, I'm not exactly sure where it's from, but it's different. I don't know if this is in the game files or did someone create it, I'm not sure, but it's a very popular image that you can find. Again, it's the 4 electric chairs, but this time there is someone in the background, it's in black and white, waiting to put them to death. Who that is, whether that character's of significance, I'm not sure. It's also kind of strange how the chairs are on the Golden Gate Bridge and not actually in the prison itself. I mean, I would assume they wouldn't have actually been put to death in the prison. I don't think there were electric chairs in Alcatraz. They would have been transferred to somewhere else and killed. So maybe the Golden Gate Bridge is supposed to represent the place they were put to death. I don't know, that's just an idea, a theory. But yeah, there's really nothing else I can give you on that. It is kind of strange. I mean, it could mean nothing at all. It just relates to the way that most of the characters were killed. But I do find it odd that this wasn't the way that Al died. Maybe they could have put in a different way of him killing himself on the Golden Gate Bridge, I'm not sure. I think it would have been really cool actually if this person on this image was Al. Just imagine if in the game it was Al that puts the characters Sal, Billy and Finn to death by electric chair because they killed him on the rooftop. His revenge is him killing them via electric chair. I think that would be really cool if we saw that happen in game, or even on this image. Just imagine this. This was Al. Ali Jabber or Jabber, sorry, I'm so sorry, dude, says, does the Shadow Man have anything to do with Richtofen? Well, yes, Richtofen does have something to do with the Shadow Man. As we're told in Revelations, the Shadow Man tells us that Richtofen was his apprentice. We also know that during the time of Doris, when Richtofen teleported himself up to the moon and he touched the MPD pyramid for the first time, Richtofen made contact with the Shadow Man. The Shadow Man and Richtofen spoke in a way, kind of indirectly. As soon as Richtofen touched that MPD in the 1940s, Richtofen became corrupted and he then gained a connection to the Dark Ether. We know at that time the Shadow Man was trapped in the Dark Ether, and so he was now able to talk to Richtofen. The reason why Richtofen did all of those bad things during World at War and Black Ops 1 and also Black Ops 2 was mostly down to the Shadow Man. The Shadow Man was telling Richtofen what to do. So the Shadow Man wasn't lying when he told us that Richtofen was his apprentice. He basically was. So yes, in that way they did have something to do with each other. Even though we didn't know it back then, even though the Shadow Man wasn't officially part of the story, he was, because in a way that we didn't know, he was the one telling Richtofen to do all of these bad things. He was talking to Richtofen in his head. We just didn't know it because we ourselves couldn't hear it. Anyway guys, there we go. That is all I have time for you for today's video. As always, hopefully you have enjoyed this one. If you have, you know what to do. Drop a like, rate, and of course you don't have to if you don't want to. Make sure you leave your comments in the comment section below. Anything you want to know to do with the zombie storyline. Try and make it an interesting question that I haven't answered already. Something interesting, something crazy, something out of the way. That'd be awesome. Like I said, drop a like rating, make sure you are subscribed, click that bell notification icon as well, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.